What's everyone out there in YouTube world, Facebook world, social media of the world? Today I'm going to talk about, we got some interesting things going on in the used to be great state of New Mexico and the state of Florida. So let's get right into it. As most of you know, the governor of New Mexico has just gone straight on fascist, like period. She just went straight on over to the fascist line. She passed, or she didn't pass, she issued an executive order basically suspending all firearm carrying in a couple of major counties in New Mexico. So it's a 30-day ban that prohibits all concealed and open carrying of firearms in a couple of big counties and cities in New Mexico. Now, the reason she did this is because there was a tragic shooting, as there often is, of basically an 11-year-old child in one of the big cities there, which unfortunately happens a lot in America. Of course, everybody knows that that's not the gun's fault. That's a lot of reasons why those things happen. But because of this, she decided to declare a health emergency, a gun violence emergency, and issued an executive order suspending concealed and open carry in these two counties. She called it a 30-day cooling off period so everybody can assess what's going on. Now, the problem is, as we all know, you can't do that. It is clearly unconstitutional to issue such a ban. There's no authority that this governor has to issue an order suspending the Second Amendment rights of all of their citizens in New Mexico. You can't do it, especially in light of a whole bunch of recent Supreme Court cases that we all know of that's come down. You're not allowed to do it. So this is just somebody who decided to go out on a limb, do this weird, wacky, crazy thing. I don't know if she's doing it for attention. I don't know if she just hates firearms that much. I don't know if she craves power. I think a lot of these governors especially got the taste for power during the lockdown of the unknown virus of unspecified origin that took everybody by surprise a couple of years ago. And then they got this mentality that they can pass these orders and start forcing people to stay in their homes, forcing people to wear masks, forcing people to get shots of certain substances in their bodies. And so I think a lot of them basically got the taste of power. It's like getting the taste of blood or something like that. And now they've just decided that they don't want to give that power up. So with the unnamed virus of unspecified origin being gone, they're looking for the next way that they're able to get power. And since they haven't liked guns for a long time and they can't get anywhere with guns because the American people don't want them to, so they can't pass any of the laws that they think they can pass, they've decided to take the lessons that they learned from the lockdown era and deciding to apply those over to firearms. So the governor in New Mexico went full-on fascist and decided to issue this order. And what's funny is when she issued this order, everybody came out and said she couldn't do it. Clearly, a lot of conservatives, Republicans, whatever you want to call them, gun rights advocates came out and said, yeah, you can't do this. You have no you have no constitutional authority to do this, and they came out against it. But then you also had a lot of people that you wouldn't think come out against it. So, for example, the ACLU, yes, the frickin' American Civil Liberties Union, came out and actually said she doesn't have the right to do this. You had the mayor of the cities come out and say, yeah, you don't have the constitutional right to do that. You had the Democratic senator of that state of New Mexico saying you don't have the right to do that. You had the sheriff of the biggest county there that she issued it for come out and literally say, I'm not going to enforce this because it's unconstitutional. It's not going to make the citizens of my city and county any safer. So pound sand, basically, I'm not enforcing it. And then David fucking Hogg, of all people, if everybody remembers who David Hogg is, David frickin' Hogg, of all people, came out and said, yeah, this is unconstitutional. You can't do this and you shouldn't do this. So there isn't a single person, basically, who's on her side. I mean, you'll find a couple of wackos out there, as usual, who are on her side, but nobody is on her side. And now, in the latest twist, even the courts, as we all knew, aren't going to be on her side. So just to bring everybody up to speed, a judge in New Mexico basically shot down her ban. So quick little article here on Reuters. A federal judge on Wednesday temporarily blocked a ban on carrying guns in New Mexico's largest city after the order by Governor Michelle Lujan Grissom threw the state into the center of the U.S. gun rights debate. U.S. District Court Judge David Urias said the governor's 30-day suspension of concealed and open firearm carry rights in Albuquerque and a surrounding county went against a landmark U.S. Supreme Court ruling that people have a right to carry a gun outside their homes for self-defense, which is true. They just want the right to carry their guns, Urias, who was appointed by President Joe Biden. So here we go. Here's a judge appointed by Joe Biden who frickin' says, yeah, you can't do this. Set of plaintiffs requesting a temporary restraining order on parts of Grisham's emergency health order. The Democratic governor issued the suspension of firearm carry laws to create a, quote, cooling off period for authorities to address solutions to the state's high rates of gun crime after several children were shot dead in recent weeks. So you'll see down here, over the past 4 days, I've seen more attention on resolving the crisis of gun violence than I have in the past 4 years, she said in a statement after the ruling. Her order outraged gun rights advocates, of course. Governor Grisham's tyranny is temporarily in check. That's the president of the Colorado gun rights group that sued the governor. Gun control campaigners praised her courage, and Santa Fe's Catholic archbishop feared more value was being given to gun rights than to the life of an 11-year-old boy killed last week in an apparent Albuquerque road rage incident. In the days since the gun ban, Albuquerque's mayor and the county sheriff called for a session, etc., etc. They said they needed legislation, and Albuquerque families can't wait, blah, 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 blah. So there you go. So the latest is that a federal judge has shot it down and said she can't do that. And an even more ironic twist, the attorney general for the state of New Mexico, who is the one who's actually charged with defending lawsuits against the government and supporting legislation, and he's the one that goes to courts and argues for things, basically said he wasn't going to go argue for it. And I believe he's a Democratic attorney general elected in New Mexico, and he's not even going to do it. So she's kind of out there on an island by herself with a few, crazy anti-gunners. I would imagine the Brady campaign probably thinks it's the greatest thing that's ever happened. But essentially, this is a grab for power, like anything we've probably never seen. No other governors had the guts to try something like this. And the fact of the matter is that she's still doubling down. If you go out there and look today, you'll still find her making statements just like the one she made there in the article that said she's going forward. So she went full fascist. Everybody, including people in her own party, said you can't go full fascist. Now a judge has said you can't full fascist, and she said, guess what? I'm doubling down on my fascism, and she's going forward with it. So what's going to happen here is somebody's probably going to appeal. I don't know who she's going to get if the attorney general is not going to do it, but somebody's going to appeal from her state this temporary order from the judge. It's going to go up to a DCA. The DCAs are going to deny it. I don't know if they're crazy enough to appeal it all the way to the Supreme Court, because I don't think there's any person on the planet who doesn't think the Supreme Court is going to shut this down, and I'm not sure they want a legal precedent coming from the Supreme Court, another one in the last couple of years, affirming gun rights and really restricting the power of these governors and their emergency orders. So that's a bigger thing too, because you hear some ramblings about some COVID restrictions coming up again, and they like the power to be able to do that, and they may not be able to do that if you get some sort of precedent that says they can't overstep their grounds. And this is a scary slope, because think about it. What's the second thing that the people on the left usually care about other than guns? It's climate change. So if there's a precedent here that says you can just issue an order for a health safety situation for guns, why can't you issue an order for health safety for the environment or pollution or global warming? And then all of a sudden that would give you all the power to issue executive orders telling people they can't have they can't have gas cars and they can't have gas stoves, et cetera, et cetera. So nobody's going to want this to become a precedent. So I'm not sure they're going to appeal it all the way up. But the fact of the matter is, look, this is the fight we're in every single day. There are definitely politicians out there, and I would say politicians probably on both sides of the aisle, who love their power, and they're willing to overreach it to get glory and get headlines and get their name out there and just basically take our rights away. So as always, got to keep an eye on these things. So that's the latest update on the governor of New Mexico. So thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'm getting close to 1,000 subscribers, so it'd be neat to hit that number sometime here in the near future. So tell everybody about the channel. I appreciate it. As always, comment down below. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay vigilant, and as always, carry on.